kill Austin. Ashley, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him.
I agree with the family. I hope you die in prison as well. You know, if this was a death penalty state, you'd be getting the chair.
This is Shondell Jackson, who is facing charges for the murder of a university student in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. According to reports, Jackson, who was 18 years old at the time, along with his friend Derek Thomas, were actively seeking victims when they spotted Nathan Potter leaving a bar. Suddenly, the teens made an ill-fated attempt to rob Potter as he returned to his apartment. However, when it became apparent to Jackson that Potter did not possess any cash, he fatally shot him. Following the murder, officials revealed that Jackson fled to Mississippi, but his uncle eventually disclosed his whereabouts, leading to his arrest.
You just can't take nobody's life. You know, that's just wrong. And I believe I did the right thing, and there's nobody can make me change that.
When Jackson appeared in court, he made light of the situation by gesturing at the family and cursing at them. When he was escorted out of the courtroom, you could see him smiling at the family. Moments before the sentencing, Jackson's mother told the court she first heard about the killing on TV.
When I saw it on the news, I even cried. I'm like, oh my God, I can't imagine what that mother is going through. I never had a clue that my child had anything to do with it. My son is not a monster. He is not a monster.
Then, Nathan's father read a heartbreaking victim impact statement.
There's nothing that can be said to bring back our Nathan. But your sentence can ensure that Shondell does not have the opportunity as a free man to inflict pain like this again.
Jackson now apologizes for what he has done.
I apologize for my behaviors. Please don't take my life from me.
Jackson's attorney had asked the judge to consider his client's youth and lack of impulse control in determining the sentence. However, when Judge Rebecca Dallett announced life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, all hell broke loose. As Jackson was being subdued by authorities, you can hear one of Jackson's family members scream directly to Nathan Potter's family. Luckily, the courtroom incident during the sentencing did not result in serious injuries. Eventually, Jackson was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
I'm going to go ahead on count 1, the first-degree intentional homicide conviction, and I am going to sentence Mr. Jackson to life imprisonment without possibility for extended supervision. I know that that is something that is reserved for the most serious of cases, and I believe that this case rises to that level.
As for Jackson's accomplice, Derek Thomas, he pleaded guilty to acting as the lookout and was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Shondell Jackson's actions in court were disgraceful. However, his actions seem harmless compared to infamous school shooter TJ Lane's.
Saying to pull the trigger to kill your son, you know, masturbates to memory. Love you.
18-year-old TJ Lane is facing charges for multiple murders in Ohio. On February 27, 2012, TJ Lane would become an American murderer who gained notoriety after committing a horrifying killing spree at Chardon High School in Ohio.
We had shots fired, gunshots, multiple gunshots. 911.
Chardon High School, any police up here? Was there someone in the building with a gun?
Yeah.
As per police records, Lane entered the school and proceeded to the cafeteria, where he unleashed a hail of bullets, resulting in the death of 3 students and severe injuries to 3 others.
This are your friends laying all over the place. There's blood, there's people screaming, everybody's running in different directions, and you're just trying to get out.
As if the murders weren't cruel enough, when Lane got to court, he showed no signs of remorse to the victims' families. Everything seemed normal as Lane strutted into court in a blue button-down. However, moments later, Lane would reveal just how cynical a teenager he is.
Thank you, Your Honor. To my left is Nicholas Burling, Doug County Assistant Prosecutor.
When the prosecutors pointed it out to Judge David Fury, TJ smirked with a sense of pride.
sentencing today, the defendant took off his dress shirt, revealing an undershirt with the word killer written on it, similar to the shirt that he wore on the day of the offense.
We typically see convicts wearing an orange or red jumpsuit in court, but this teenager is not the typical convict. Lane's antics only got worse when family members of the victims got the chance to speak directly to their child's murderer.
Nick is a very kind and loving. Why would you want to hurt him? You don't know kind. You're evil.
Lane smiled and laughed through all of them. Then, Lane told them what he really thinks.
Saying pull the trigger that killed your son, masturbates to memory. Love you.
The judge presiding over the case described Lane's behavior as heinous, unprovoked, and senseless, and sentenced him to 3 life sentences in prison without parole. Lane's behavior and reactions were likened to that of a psychopath. However, not every convict remains emotionless after hearing they're spending the rest of their life behind bars, like in the case of 14-year-old Antonio Barbo and Nathan Pop, who are facing charges for murder in Sheboygan County, Wisconsin. In September 2012, the 2 teenagers worked together to kill Barbo's great-grandmother, 78-year-old Barbara Olson, in her Sheboygan Falls home. According to police reports, Barbo struck her several times with a hatchet, as his accomplice, Nathan Pop, simultaneously used a hammer to bludgeon Olson to death.
What happened next?
We got in, and then I looked to Nate and nodded and shook my head as in yes or no. He nodded, and then I took the first swing. She started heading into the living room, falling.
And as she was falling, were there any more blows? Did you strike her again?
I hit one more time as she was falling.
After the attack, the boys would be seen on surveillance footage getting gloves and wipes, almost acting as if nothing had happened. However brutal the slaying was, wait till you hear why they decided to go through with such a violent act.
About, I think, 150.
And where is that?
Some of it went towards food, and then we got pizza, and then some of it went towards weed, which I think is actually still at his house upstairs, if he didn't get it yet.
That's right. You heard that correctly. The boys decided to murder Barbara Olson for money to buy pizza and weed. Watch here as surveillance footage captured the boys just hours later, enjoying a couple slices, almost acting as if they hadn't just committed a murder. During the trial, Barbo entered a plea of no contest to first-degree intentional homicide. This plea was part of a deal that reduced his charge. Previously, Barbo had pleaded not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect, but later changed his plea in the proceeding. When given the opportunity to address the court, Barbo struggled to express himself and could not complete his statement.
I know I don't show my emotions much, and I myself am not sure why, but that doesn't mean I don't.
His lawyer stepped in and finished in his behalf.
I took away someone's mother, their grandma, sister, friend, when I had no right to do so.
As a result, Barbo was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 36 years, at which time he would be 50 years old. As he is escorted out of the court, he's seen crying and sobbing. His accomplice, Nathan, was also sentenced to life imprisonment and will not be eligible for parole until he turns 45. He showed no emotion as he was seen leaving the court. For many people, these teenagers got what they deserved. However, this wasn't the only time a teenager was sentenced to life imprisonment. There was the case of Alyssa Bustamante, who was facing charges for murder in Missouri. In 2009, when Alyssa was just 15, she murdered 9-year-old Elizabeth Olton, who lived 4 houses down from her. On the night of the murder, Elizabeth asked to go to Alyssa's house to play. However, Elizabeth was never seen alive again. Elizabeth's parents became worried and contacted the police to file a missing persons report for their daughter. For the next 2 days, video footage captured police stopping every car that drove by her house to ask for help in locating the missing 9-year-old. Eventually, they tracked Elizabeth's phone, and it pinged to the woods behind Alyssa's house. Authorities discovered a shallow grave behind Alyssa's house, and Elizabeth's body was found buried there, making Alyssa the prime suspect, and eventually leading to a devastating confession.
I cut throat.
she died. But I just stabbed her.
If you think Alyssa's murder was dreadful, you would be sickened at her behavior in court. The prosecuting team was quick to draw the court's attention to a very alarming piece of evidence detectives uncovered while searching her house: a blank diary. But the diary wasn't so blank, because with the help of a blue light, detectives were able to reveal a diary entry in which she expressed euphoria after killing Elizabeth. This was a shocking discovery that was used as evidence against her. Despite her troubled background, Alyssa was tried as an adult and faced a potential death penalty. However, she accepted a plea deal to the lesser charge of second-degree murder before her trial began.
Basically, the main reason for accepting the offer was to avoid the absolute certainty of life without parole. If there was another option, then there would have been no reason to have accepted that offer.
She was eventually sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of conditional release, plus a consecutive 30 years in prison.
She would have been in the same situation, no better situation. She still could have faced a life without parole sentence.
Alyssa remained emotionless and stoic as her sentence was read. Alyssa's behavior and reactions were likened to that of a psychopath. However, that's not the only time a teenager has committed a heinous crime. There's the case of Nicholas Lindsay, who is facing charges for murder in Florida. On February 21st, 2011, Officer David Crawford, aged 46, responded to a call regarding a suspicious person near Tropicana Field late at night. Upon arrival, Officer Crawford encountered this individual and exited his vehicle. At 10:37 p.m., an officer nearby reported hearing gunshots. That night, Officer Crawford was found shot and killed. The following day, a nationwide manhunt was on.
There is an incredible manhunt going on.
The following night, 16-year-old Nicholas Lindsay was arrested following tips from the community. Lindsay initially provided varying accounts of the events.
I did not do it, and I'm telling you, I did not do it. Who did it? I don't know. You guys never shoot, we right here. I was not there.
But eventually, Nicholas confessed.
It was on safety, but it wasn't. When I pulled it out, I wanted my finger on the trigger.
From the confession tapes, you would be led to believe that Nicholas was remorseful for his crimes. However, in court, Nicholas seemed uninterested and unbothered.
Has significant doubts about the defendant's potential for rehabilitation.
David's daughter, Amanda, gave an emotional victim impact statement.
This text with him was me saying, "Be safe, Dad. I love you." To which he immediately replied, "I will, sweetheart. I love you too." That was 1 hour before Lindsay went to shooting him.
To which Nicholas laughed. On March 23, 2012, Lindsay was convicted of Officer Crawford's murder and received a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Lindsay's lack of remorse is shocking. However, a 16-year-old murderer begging for forgiveness in court is equally, if not more, disgusting.
I didn't mean to kill Austin. Ashley, I really didn't. I really think I did right. I didn't mean to hurt him.
Dylan Schumacher is facing charges for the murder of his girlfriend's 23-month-old son in Springville, New York. According to police reports, on March 19, 2013, Schumacher, 16 at the time, was left to babysit his girlfriend's toddler, Austin. When Austin wouldn't stop crying, Dylan began hitting him several times, including backhanded smacks to his face and slamming his head on the ground while changing a diaper, all of which culminated in defendant placing the victim on a bed with a pillow over him and repeatedly punching him in the head. During the trial, the medical examiner established that the victim sustained ruptured blood vessels in his left ear and near his right eye, hemorrhages in his retina and perioptic nerve, and subdural and subarachnoid hemorrhaging. Austin died shortly thereafter. When Dylan got to court, things got even crazier. Schumacher claimed that he did not intend to kill the toddler.
I didn't mean to kill Austin. Ashley, I really didn't. I really think I did right. I didn't mean to hurt him.
Schumacher addressed the court, apologizing to Ashley Smith and showing remorse for Austin's death.
Take back what was done. I wish I could. I would give my life for Austin. Ashley, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your son.
Dylan seems remorseful and genuinely sorry for what he did. However, State Supreme Court Justice M. William Baller didn't see it that way.
16, you knew right from wrong. Had a bad childhood, had some troubles. At 16, you knew not to keep pounding your fist on that pillow with that little baby's head there.
He then went on to label Dylan a manipulator and deceiver.
After listening to your testimony at trial, I came away with the impression that you minimize your actions, that you are a manipulator, and you try to deceive.
The judge then goes on to provide a truly disturbing piece of evidence.
The record will show that you admitted that on July 23, 2013, in a phone call to your mother from the holding center, you stated, and I got a quote from the court reporter, "I am a 16-year-old blonde. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury, and they're going to feel sorry for me."
Schumacher was eventually sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. He continued crying as he received his sentence. If you thought these teenage criminals were shocking, you would be terrified by the interrogation of this bipolar killer. Click here.